as of today, there's an ongoing investigation that will take many weeks. The accident reconstruction specialist's work alone will not be done for somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks, maybe longer. And all of the other parts of the investigation are moving. It's important to note that on Saturday we received the information as to found out what about the accident itself, and on Saturday afternoon, and then with the RCMP we had obtained certain information from them on Saturday. That changed a bit on Sunday, and then it changed again on Monday. And Monday was the turning point for us. The evidence that was unequivocally presented to us by the RCMP on Monday morning was put us in a situation where we then, were able to act. Up until then, it was pure, guesswork and not fact related, not fact based. There was, certainly lots of information and out and about floating around. But you know what? The RCMP are tasked with getting to the bottom of it. They're tasked with finding out exactly what happened, how it happened, and all of that. And I have every faith that they will get, in due course, that will happen. In the meantime, as facts become available, certain things have to be done. And, I want to say right now that, our council, our staff, all throughout the municipality are all absolutely devastated and heartbroken by what has happened, for sure.
No question.
So, and the other thing too is we had to get on this and act decisively, and that's what the mantle of public office is sometimes very heavy, and this week is a prime example of that since Saturday. And you know what? I'm so proud of my crew and my council for what they've done so far and how they've acted and how they've reacted. So I'm very proud of them all.
Indeed, and I know you to be a very compassionate soul as well, and so it's difficult to even talk about it. But you're the man in charge, and we have to. The point being, of course, that I say you, I'm talking now, the municipality of Cumberland has a bit of an awkward, tenuous relationship with the fire departments generally, in that each and every one of those kind of came into its own being as an independent society. They were developed at the local level with their own policies, and they answer to the Registry of Joint Stock Companies. But along the way, of course, the municipality became involved by virtue of being a major funder and establishing certain policies that you wanted to be consistent across the county. So you find yourself as playing a role, although not the ownership role, an awkward role. And that's why you're involved. And as a consequence of that arrangement, your council has decided to suspend the chief and deputy chief of the fire department involved in this process, and you even went so far as to ban the chief, the former chief, from even attending the fire hall. And I'm just curious what brought that about.
Well, again, you know what? There's been some things that have been, ongoing in the investigation and whatever, and certain information came to light on Monday that allowed council to act. And you know what? We're only able to even do this because we changed the bylaws last year in 2024. And I'll backtrack to when we first got elected, 4 of us or 5 of us, counting myself, in 2020. And we had an incident, as everybody's aware, with one of these same individuals. And, at the end of it, when we found out that our hands were tied as a municipality and being able to take any sort of action, I was, short of, closing a fire hall completely, which is, we always have reserved the right to do that as a municipality. We can close a fire hall, any one of the 17, obviously with good cause. But we changed. We underwent. At that time, Mayor Scott was very strong and said, "Listen, we've got to get on this. We've got to decide whether we're in the fire business or we're not, and we've got to decide how we're going to run, how the show is going to go, and who's going to be, how all the working parts are going to work together." And so we did the Gilroy report and a bunch, 1,047 pages of recommendations and so on with that. The hub model has come out of that. Increased spending on the fire service has come out of that. And most importantly, in the last few days, was our bylaw changes that we instituted following the receipt of the Goudreau report, and that we can now effectively remove chiefs and deputy chiefs under bylaws. There's a number of them, but 18 and 19 were the ones that were used this past week. And so, if Mayor Scott hadn't, and the previous council hadn't got on the ball with that when that first thing happened way back, we would not be in a spot today where we would be able to do what we did yesterday.
And it's a moving target. It's all changing, and we're looking at the final report of the RCMP, and whether charges may or may not be pending, actions may or may not be pending. As I said, this is a test of our strength as a community and our compassion in the community.
Yep.
But appreciate that very much. Let's turn then to something a little more cheerful, to be sure. You had a major series of presentations at Council yesterday, and one of them I know is dear to your heart. I'm talking about the presentation about the Ketchum Swinging Bridge in Tidnish. Yes. And it's a bridge that needs some help. And you've got an organization in the community that wants to fix that up. And surprisingly, one of your council members had to confess that she wasn't even aware the bridge existed. And it's one of those, you might call it one of the best kept secrets around in Cumberland County. I know it's close to your heart. What do you think of the Ketchum Swinging Bridge?
Well, you know what? It's been a project that's been on the radar of the Tidnish Crossroads Community Association for as long as I can remember. And DNR took over the Ship Railway a number of years ago, as everybody's aware, and the current bridge that's there is closed and in disrepair. And we looked at that and talked about how important it would be to the community to get the bridge replaced or fixed. And then when that process started 2 or 3 years ago, the reality of doing those things that are on trails and whatever is that if you don't make it all vehicle access, then there's virtually no funding available. So one of the issues then was, how do we fix the bridge, and what do you do? So the plan was hatched to take the bridge and take it apart, rebuild it, and make it almost twice or 2.5 times as wide as it is now. So it will take like snowmobiles, walkers, side-by-sides, even the biggest ones, and all of that. And once you go to that designation or size frame with that bridge, then the funding pool opens up for you. And the Tidnish Crossroads Community Association has done a great job. They've got everything but about $236,000, I believe, already organized and arranged through various government agencies and various public entities and whatever. And so they're looking for some help from the municipality to finish the job. And, that will be part of our, budget discussions, obviously, going forward. And this is what we have happen, like yesterday with the presenters yesterday and last week, and probably the next meeting or two. All of them are making their pitch, for funding under the community grants program and outright funding help and whatever, So, but, you say that it's an iconic thing. And it's probably, and people looked at me yesterday, but it's one of the most photographed and painted pieces of real estate in Nova Scotia next to Peggy's Cove, I would think. And I'm not bragging. I know everywhere you go, you can hardly walk in an art gallery or a photograph exhibition anywhere that there's not a picture of that bridge.
Yeah, you made the point yesterday. I thought it was rather neat the way you said it. Sometimes when you go to see the bridge, you have to work your way around all the artists with their easel setups and so on, doing their paintings. And yet there's a whole whack of people out there who don't even know what we're talking about, the Ketchum Swinging Bridge. No,
absolutely. And, I've seen the plans from the association, what they plan to do, and the interpretive work and panels and clearing of the rail bed, from Ketchum Drive through and across the bridge and out to the 366 on that end, which is actually right beside the community rink spot that we had the big free family barbecue and everything there last weekend. And that, as part of this, has been enhanced recently, compliments of people like Bill Dow, local businessmen, donating their machinery and time the fire department and everybody involved in the work on the building there at the rink and whatever. They look at the improvement. It's just drastic, and it means so much to the community.
Now let's change to something a little more pointed, or scratchy, itchy, if you want to call it that, and that is the more recent effort of the province for legislation to open up the discussion on gas and fracking and gas extraction and so on. And the Minister of Municipal Affairs, John Lohr, sent a letter to your council and all other councils in Nova Scotia asking for your support on this initiative to reintroduce the question of gas extraction. And not only did your council not kind of receive it with any great fanfare, but you yourself said that the minister called you personally. And between the conversation you had with him and the response from your councillors, it appears that nobody is willing to jump on that bandwagon at all. If anything, you want to stop it.
Yeah, listen. When I had a chance to speak personally to Minister Lohr, I wanted to be very clear with him, and as I like to be very clear with everybody involved in our workings and how our group works. I may be the mayor and the face of the county and all of that, but I always defer to my council. And I said to Minister Lohr, I'll give you an answer and I'll write you back and whatever. When I've spoken to my council has had some conversation about it, and as a group we've made a decision, and then it will come back. Your letter will be in the mail, so to speak, and it might not be exactly what you want to hear or how you want to hear it. And we talked about that yesterday. The minister writes you and calls you. As a matter of courtesy and respect, you need to respond. You might not respond in the way that he wants. You know what? There may be some points in what he wants that we're agreeable with. There may be several that we're not. I had a conversation the other day with another member of the government about the deed transfer tax and how it affects the cottage country and all of that in Cumberland County, and how somebody in Allac that lives just a few kilometers away cannot come over into Cumberland County and buy a property without paying this exorbitant tax. So they're listening. I got an information back from them this morning that they're going to have a chat about it and they're going to review it a bit, and maybe my voice will help get some change and whatever. And it's the same with the fracking and the uranium and all of that. If we don't want it, we don't want it, and we should have the right to say no.
Absolutely. And you may be aware, of course, that I had the Minister of Natural Resources on the program yesterday, and that was the sole topic we talked about yesterday. And, he was really put between a rock and a hard place, being part of the cabinet and the decision that brought this forward, and being the member for Cumberland South, knowing full well that our county has spoken loud and clear that we are not in favor of any kind of fracking whatsoever, and even the question of gas extraction poses really thorny problems with it as well. And Minister Rushton, you could just tell he was squirming, not out of fear or anything, but because he too has serious questions about this, and he's put in a very difficult position. So, I think when you speak as you did, and the implication coming out of your council's response yesterday is this is not something the people of Cumberland want, period. And I'm not writing the letter for you. You can do a good job of that yourself. But, I think I could send an addendum to it and pretty much match it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? We will get to it. The reason we talked about it yesterday is because we want to, make a formulated decision. And the next council, it'll be on the agenda for the next council meeting. I've asked the councilors to read it carefully, review the releases, and review what they're asking, and be prepared to have some input at the next opportunity, which will be at our very next meeting.